Let's talk about a topic that rarely gets discussed honestly, and yet affects more men and women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond than you might think. Masturbation. For some, it's a simple act of self-care. For others, it carries shame, guilt, or silence. For most, it's something they've never really questioned. But here's the big question. Can something so natural actually become harmful? The short answer? Yes. But not in the way you may think. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to tell you the truth, the whole truth. Because while masturbation in moderation can be harmless, even healthy, there's a darker side to this habit. And for older adults, especially those who are retired, living alone, or facing new health challenges, the risks can be far greater than most realize. Stay with me to the end of this video because we're going to talk about the 8 real dangers of compulsive or excessive masturbation, why they matter even more as you age, and how you can regain balance and control without shame or judgment. This is not an easy conversation, but it's one that can change your life. It often starts harmlessly. You're home more often now. Maybe you're retired. Maybe your partner isn't as interested in intimacy. Maybe you just need a quick stress reliever before bed, and so you turn to masturbation. No harm in that, right? But slowly, for some men and women, what was once occasional becomes frequent, and what was once simple becomes compulsive. Before long, you're no longer in control of the habit controls you. You may not even realize it, but suddenly you're spending more time alone, more time online, and less time engaging in the things that once gave your life meaning, hobbies, friendships, or even intimacy with a partner. Why we need to talk about this now. Here's the thing. Aging changes everything. Our hormones shift. Our bodies respond differently to stimulation. Our emotional resilience is often lower. This means that habits we once brushed off in our 30s or 40s can have amplified consequences in our 60s and beyond. And because masturbation is private, often secretive, these problems rarely get addressed until they've caused real damage to your health, to your relationships, and to your sense of self. Let me tell you about John. John is 68. He retired a few years ago. He loves his wife, but they don't have the same intimacy they once did. Out of habit, and sometimes boredom, John turns to masturbation. At first it's just once or twice a week, then it's every day, then multiple times a day. To make it more exciting, John starts watching pornography. Hours pass by in front of a screen. He starts avoiding social gatherings. He feels unmotivated to exercise. He even notices that when he tries to be intimate with his wife, it's harder to feel aroused. John feels ashamed, but he can't stop. Does John's story sound familiar? If it does, you're not alone. And that's exactly why we need to talk about the 8 real dangers of compulsive masturbation. In the next section, we'll go step by step through each one. Watch carefully, because recognizing these signs could be the first step toward taking your life back. Danger number 1. Pornography-induced erectile dysfunction. One of the most alarming consequences of compulsive masturbation, especially when tied to pornography, is what experts now call pornography-induced erectile dysfunction. The human brain is wired to respond to novelty, and pornography provides an endless stream of it. At first, it seems harmless, but over time, the brain adapts to the constant stimulation, dulling dopamine receptors and changing the way you experience arousal. The result? When you're with a real partner, things don't work the same way. Erections become weaker, harder to maintain, and often less satisfying. This isn't a moral issue, it's neurological conditioning, and for many older men, it quietly robs them of their ability to enjoy natural intimacy. Danger number 2, loss of sensitivity and delayed ejaculation. There's another side effect that many men don't expect: physical desensitization. Frequent and aggressive self-stimulation, especially with a tight grip or repetitive technique, can change how the nerve endings in the penis respond to touch. Over time, you might notice that what used to feel pleasurable now feels dull. This loss of sensitivity often leads to delayed ejaculation, where reaching climax takes much longer than before, or in some cases, doesn't happen at all without intense stimulation. For older adults whose circulation and nerve health are already changing with age, this desensitization can make sexual experiences less enjoyable and further strain intimacy with a partner. Danger number 3, emotional isolation and loneliness. Masturbation often becomes a coping mechanism for boredom, loneliness, or stress. But instead of solving those problems, it can make them worse. When it becomes a frequent substitute for real human connection, it deepens emotional isolation. Rather than reaching out to friends, investing in hobbies, or fostering relationships, you retreat inward. Over time, this can create a cycle of loneliness, using the habit to fill an emotional void, only to feel more disconnected afterward. For older adults who may already face shrinking social circles, this emotional withdrawal can be devastating, silently contributing to depression and an overall decline in quality of life. Danger number 4, strain on relationships. When masturbation becomes a main outlet for sexual release, it often reduces interest in intimacy with a partner. This shift can create tension, emotional distance, and unspoken resentment. Partners may feel unwanted or rejected, while you may feel guilty or defensive. Over time, this silent wedge can grow wider, eroding emotional closeness and trust. For couples who are already navigating the physical and emotional changes that come with aging, this strain can be particularly painful. What begins as a private habit can quietly damage one of the most important sources of support and joy in later life, a loving relationship. Danger number 5, mental health decline. Compulsive masturbation doesn't just affect the body, it affects the mind. Many older adults report feelings of guilt, shame, or even self-disgust when the habit feels out of control. These emotions can feed into cycles of anxiety and depression, especially if you're already facing challenges like retirement, health concerns, or grief. Instead of being a stress reliever, the habit becomes another source of stress, leaving you feeling trapped and powerless. And because this is such a private subject, most people suffer in silence, never realizing how much their emotional well-being is being impacted by what they thought was just a harmless routine. Danger number 6, dopamine burnout and motivation loss. Masturbation triggers the release of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. In moderation, this is harmless, but when the brain is flooded with dopamine regularly through compulsive self-stimulation, its reward system becomes less responsive. This phenomenon, sometimes called dopamine burnout, makes it harder to find joy in everyday activities. Suddenly, hobbies that once brought you pleasure feel dull. Exercise feels like a chore. Socializing seems less appealing. It's as if life itself loses color. This loss of motivation and vitality can sneak up on you, leaving you stuck in a cycle of low energy and low purpose, all while chasing a habit that no longer delivers the same satisfaction. Danger number 7, prostate irritation. While moderate ejaculation has been linked to better prostate health, excessive or aggressive masturbation can cause irritation to the prostate and surrounding tissues. Some men report pelvic discomfort, a feeling of pressure, or even urinary issues that stem from overuse. For older adults who may already be managing prostate concerns, this added irritation can worsen symptoms or complicate existing conditions. Instead of supporting your health, the very habit you thought was helping may be working against you. Danger number 8, compulsive behavior and addiction. Perhaps the most significant danger is losing control. For some, masturbation transitions from a choice to a compulsion. It becomes a behavior you can't easily stop, even when it interferes with your relationships, your health, or your personal goals. The brain craves the quick dopamine hit, trapping you in a cycle of craving, release, and guilt. This pattern can mirror the mechanisms of addiction, and without intervention, it can take over more and more of your time and energy. It's not just a habit anymore, it's a dependency, and it robs you of freedom. Why these risks are greater after 60. You might wonder, why does this matter more now? The truth is that aging changes everything. Your body takes longer to recover. Your emotional resilience isn't what it once was. Your social connections may be fewer. And when you're facing loneliness, boredom, or health concerns, it's easy for a simple habit to become an escape and eventually a trap. What felt manageable in your 30s can quietly erode your vitality in your 60s and beyond, leaving you feeling disconnected, unmotivated, and ashamed. Finding balance and reclaiming control. But here's the good news. You can take back control. The goal isn't to eliminate masturbation completely, it's to restore balance. Set healthy boundaries for yourself. Limit or eliminate pornography if it's fueling the problem. Redirect your time and energy toward activities that nourish your body and mind, like exercise, hobbies, or social engagement. And if this habit has started to feel bigger than you can handle, don't be afraid to reach out for support. Talking to a therapist or a trusted medical professional can help you break free from the cycle. A closing thought. Masturbation itself isn't the enemy, but when it becomes compulsive, isolating, or tied to shame, it can quietly rob you of the things that matter most: your connection with others, your sense of purpose, and your peace of mind. You deserve better than that. You deserve real intimacy, renewed motivation, and control over your own life. And it starts with one simple step: being honest with yourself about where you are and taking action to build a healthier path forward.